Good afternoon, comrades. It's an honour to be amongst so many activists from so many fighting trade unions.
My name's Paddy Brennan. I'm the convener for the Honda factory in Swindon.
Some people think I don't need to.
Tempers of the inspiration from some of the stories I've heard today.
The NSSN, and we are proud of this, was initiated by the RMT in 2006, and we really cut our teeth in the private sector disputes in Lindsay, in Linamar, in Christian and Vestas in 2009.
Working class communities right across this country are facing the biggest onslaught of attacks from austerity cuts, courtesy of the condemns, that we've ever seen in our lifetime.
These cheap monsters' threats will awaken a furious spirit of resistance among trade unionists and workers in this country.
3.5 weeks ago, our annual conference voted overwhelmingly to ballot for action alongside the teaching unions. A vote which I believe was genuinely historic and marks the start of a serious, organised industrial fight back on behalf of thousands of workers and of our class.
The results out next week. I'm confident that we're going to get a good result, and of course we will then go to the government and ask them to stop the plans that they are intending to make to our pensions. If they don't, then we will be taking action on the 30th of June alongside the teaching unions, and I'm confident that that will be a day when we can express the anger and frustration of thousands of workers at the way that they're being expected to pay for this economic crisis.
I'd like to welcome you all to this London school in an area I represent. Absolutely full today, but I know on the 30th of June that this hall, along with school halls across the country, will be empty because those teachers, along with the civil servants, will be on strike.
Our members care about the service that we provide, and that's why I will be proud to withdraw my labour on June the 30th, ballot pending, with hundreds of thousands of my colleagues in the public sector to defend our livelihoods and our conditions.
The position of PCS was and is simple. There is no need for any cuts, and we oppose all cuts and all privatisation.
If you're a public sector worker in any other part of the public sector, you will be asking the question, why are we not taking action with our brothers and sisters in the civil service? The TUC and build direct support with individual unions, and we, as I said, expect to be joined by millions of public sector workers in the autumn in the second wave of the sustained coordinated strike action that is going to be needed to challenge this government.
This conference has been extremely important because it gives trade unionists from a number of different unions an opportunity to come together and to discuss strategy and tactics, to learn the lessons of successful strikes, to generalise them, and to decide how we're going to act together better in the future.
And I can pledge from London postal workers for the 30th of June and for our sisters and brothers who are going to be taking forward in struggle on them disputes, that postal workers will be there supporting you in London, and that postal workers will not cross your picket lines when they are delivering the mail, as we consistently have done throughout our history.
I know what we won't do. We won't cross picket lines. The UCU work closely and the PCS work closely with us in the prison service. We will not cross picket lines.
If they want to take us on, then let's have it. Let's have it now. This is a fight. You will not win. We will win.
On the Olympics on the media centre, and one of the co-workers on the site was moved off the project mid-contract. He was earning bonus. He was one of the most productive workers that I knew on the site. He was earning more money than me in production. And later transpired, I asked the foreman why he was moved off site, and gloatingly he said his name's appeared on the blacklist. So I immediately informed him. I informed his trade union. So after that, there was a witch hunt. Who let the cat out of the bag, and they went for me.
And the point of victimisation is that if you are an activist, you're going to be targeted by your employer because you fight for your members.
I initiated a grievance proceeding to try and bring it to a head, and later on that afternoon I had to call the police because I was getting threatened with violence by the senior management. But we've had 2 protests down at the Olympics. And I turned up there, I was quite an isolated worker, to tell you the truth. I just turned up, I was expecting like the blacklisted support group, and we were expecting about 7 or 8. Well, the NSSN, I turned up there and there was about 40 or 50 people there. I said, like, thank you very much. It was great, I didn't know anyone. And that girl's there to stop the lorries.
When this dispute went across the combine, it was a very brave and courageous decision to make, because as most of you are aware, you take a local dispute for 2 people across the whole combine. People don't know who me and Arwin are, but we won a big mandate for that, 2-to-1 majority. You know, we had 70%. Boris Johnson was on the telly telling everyone that me and Arwin were sacked properly. There was nothing underhand, and the RMT didn't have a proper mandate for strike action. Well, Mr Johnson, what was your mandate when you was elected? You did not get 70% of the electorate of the votes cast, did not vote for you. So don't lecture us on democracy.
We've just gone through the Central Arbitration Committee to actually de-recognise my trade union in the Honda plant in Swindon. My union is Unite, but I made it clear to them, they either support us, and if they don't support us, I'm requesting support from the National Shop Stewards Network to come and support me and my members in that plant. If they won't back us up, we want people to back us up.
I want to formally move the proposal from the National Shop Stewards Network Steering Committee that in the same way as we were successfully able to put pressure on the TUC to eventually reach the March the 26th national demonstration, that we organise a lobby at the TUC conference on September the 11th to demand the end to the excuses, an end to the hesitation, and that every union has to join us together to build a mighty movement that forces this government back.
We agree with the words of Mark Serwotka, the General Secretary of the PCS, when he said at his conference a few weeks ago, our aim from June the 30th onwards is to turn 750,000 workers into 4 million workers that need to take action to defeat this government's attacks on our class.
We've got to learn lessons not just from victories but from defeats. What we've got to understand is we need organisations. We need the organisations like the National Shop Stewards Network who played a supportive role in our dispute. We've got an absolute necessity to have industrial organisations like the Shop Stewards Network. We have to look at political representation.
On March the 26th, we marched together in our hundreds of thousands. We need to strike in our millions to defeat this government.
We've got nowhere to go on this issue other than ourselves sticking together, fighting together and building a stronger trade union movement to tell these people that we aren't going to put up with this, and honest, straight, working class people are not going to become the victims of what's going on in the ballrooms of this country.
They told us to walk away from that job, and I've asked the question of trade union officials, of Labour MPs, when they've spoke against what we did, protesting outside of Saltend Gates. What did you expect them workers to do when they was thrown off that job? What did you think
we decided, well, I was asked actually to stand for the NEC. I stood for the NEC election. I've got no national profile, so it's not about me, but I stood on an anti-witch hunt, anti-illegal as far as we're concerned, branch administration, and guess what, I won.
We won't stand by idly and let them smash our unions. If the trade union bureaucracy showed 5% of the determination that the construction workers showed outside of Salt End, we'd have been back on that job in week 1. We'd have been back on that job.
Αυτός δεν είναι ένας αγώνας μόνο των Ελλήνων εργαζομένων.
Because this is not a struggle of the Greek workers alone.
Αλλά και των Πορτογάλων και των Ισπανών και των Ιρλανδών και των Βρετανών.
But it's also the struggle of the Portuguese workers, the Spanish workers, the Irish workers, and the British workers.
Είμαστε επίθεση σήμερα.
Because all over Europe, the big capital is united against us and is attacking us.
Αλλά η εργατική τάξη δεν έχει καταφέρει να ενώσει τις αντιστάσεις της.
But the working class has not been able yet to put up a united resistance. And this is the fault of the leadership, the trade union leadership.
Η δύναμή μας είναι τεράστια.
Our strength is immense.
Αλλά δεν αξιοποιείται.
But it is not put into action.
Αυτό που χρειάζεται είναι
I would like to send a message for the strike on the 30th of June.
Όλες τις πύλες, στα εργοστάσια, στα αμαξοστάσια, στα γραφεία, στους δρόμους.
Form massive picket lines in every workplace, in every factory, on every street, and give the stop strike breakers and give a really huge and fighting answer to Cameron's government and to the capitalists all over Europe.
Shop Stewards Network can play, as it should, an absolutely critical role reflected in the motion to do everything you can to support the day, to support the action on the 30th of June, to reach out to those other public sector unions that should be joining us. And now I say to the Unison leadership, we want you to now join with PCS and other public sector unions. Network can play a vital role in organising events around the TUC to call and pressurise the TUC to fulfil its vital obligations to its class. And in the process, I think we can harness the enormous latent power of what is still a 7 million strong trade union movement. It is a sleeping giant. We can start to challenge the dictatorship of the international markets dictating the policy of individual governments, and we can show that international workers' solidarity is not some utopian idea. It is the most powerful antidote to the new neoliberal consensus pursued by European governments, by mainstream political parties, by the Murdoch press and international bond and equity markets. And we can show in practice and start to raise the question of what sort of society do we want to live in, and build on the ideas of that international working class solidarity and start to pose a real socialist alternative. Thanks for listening.